very difficult and challenging issue of correspondent banking relationships for our banks. At the end of the day, if we don't have a correspondent banking relationship that will allow us to trade with banks outside of our borders, then we will not be able to remit money, will not be able to trade, will not be able to basically engage with the rest of the world in anything that has a commercial nature. And that is why it is so important. The region has been fighting this battle for over a decade now. We've seen the number of banks that have correspondent banking relationships decline in the region. And we've also seen the number of persons who cannot get bank accounts or who have great difficulty in getting bank accounts significantly increase. And just as worrying, also at the level of investors coming into the region, there is serious difficulty and challenge for them being able to just simply open bank accounts. The US congressional delegation which came was led by the chair of the Financial Services Commission, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who I think all of us in this region know very, very well as a passionate leader who fights for justice and fights discrimination wherever it is found. And we thank her for coming, for seeing us, and for listening more than anything else. The US congressional delegation has agreed that this issue is of such major import that it really now merits congressional hearings to allow us to bring not only those who are here in Barbados today, but to expose this issue to a wider audience, and also to bring those other banks who may well be benefiting from our business, but who are not willing to share in the burden that may be necessary in meeting additional regulatory issues as it relates to giving us the opportunity to be beneficiaries of correspondent banking relationships. The truth is that the refrain that is heard the most is that we are too small and not profitable enough for them to undertake the enhanced due diligence that may be required of them in different markets. In addition to those congressional hearings that we hope will take place later this year, we also agreed to an annual Caribbean US Banking Forum, and the Caribbean Development Bank has willingly agreed to come forward and help us to sponsor that, and we hope that that will happen in October of this year. It is important that the banking sector on both sides in the US and in the Caribbean get to know each other, get to speak to each other, and start to deconstruct and reconstruct such that we understand what it is we're trying to achieve, why the regulatory requirements are so complex and challenging, and how we can minimize it. All of us know that the notion that you're going to ask an 18-year-old or 20-year-old to bring a light bill to open a bank account, when years ago we would just walk into a bank and open a bank account, is today absurd. And it therefore means that too many of our citizens are remaining unbanked because of the additional burdens being placed on banks in order to be able to meet the demands and to ensure that they themselves, as one put it today, we have sometimes to de-risk customers to ensure that we as banks are not de-risked. Now that is the most challenging set of circumstances that you can put for our banks, who really provide the financial lifeline for our citizens and our companies to be able to survive, and for whom, without which I should say, we would not have the ability to have trade. And as you know, as small open economies, we can only survive in a situation where trade advances. Feasibility study as to whether we should not establish a consortium bank in the United States of America that will be a regional public good. And what do I mean by that? That this bank will be seen as a narrow bank that can provide the correspondent banking relationships for banks in the region, and thereby ensuring that we don't have to get into battles with others who are not prepared to willingly bank us. And please note that, as I said, those who benefit from the relationship should always carry the burden of the relationship. And those of you who know me in Barbados know that the philosophy of our government has been share the burden, share the benefit. Share the benefit, share the burden. And we feel that it is equally applicable in this set of circumstances. We also agreed that there should be a proposal that we want to see in the US to establish an examiner training academy, an examiner training academy in the United States to train state, local, and federal examiners there, but also to train foreign examiners, including ours in the Caribbean, to ensure that there are baseline standards, that there is a common mission, and that the evaluation mechanisms that we use are all uniform. And as simple and as technical as that may seem, it is critical to ensure that people speak the same language and approach issues in the same way. And then, of course, we agreed to incorporate access to correspondent banking relationships into aid and development relationships, and to see it as a critical part of the infrastructure, the market infrastructure that is necessary for countries to succeed. As I said earlier, the level of engagement by heads of state and heads of government is such that this matter is too critical to us being able to survive and to grow our economies and to provide opportunities for our citizens. We cannot have financial barriers. We cannot have financial exclusion.